What's going on, guys? I'm Kalen. I'm your host here at the Modern Day Sniper Podcast. Welcome back to another episode. And in this one, which happens to be number 109, which I'm taking a break from editing right now to do some dry practice because I'm getting ready to head up into the high country here in Washington for our high country buck hunt. So, in this episode, I'd like to welcome Mr. David Cantu and Ken Smith. Both of these guys came into this community and into this world of precision shooting knowing absolutely nothing about it. And watching them both grow and cultivate their skills throughout the years that I've known them and witnessing the dedication that they both put forth to learning this craft, it's awe-inspiring, really, because both of these guys are really, really sharp dudes and they look at this sport with different lenses, as we all do. And listening to these guys talk about their journey, it's really evident that they're both truly dedicated to mastering this craft. And it's really cool to talk to them. And so both of them have cultivated a friendship as a result of being a part of the Modern Day Rifleman Network up here in the Pacific Northwest. And nationwide and now worldwide, we have people from all over the world in the Modern Day Rifleman Network talking, communicating, and it's just really cool to witness and watch it continue to grow. So I think you guys are going to be able to garner a lot of tidbits of information about this, about their journeys from this episode. So make sure to have a solid listen, stay focused and attentive, take notes because both of these guys are prime examples of where you can end up if you truly apply yourself and go forth and get the proper training as well as have the dedication to make it all work. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. I hope you guys really enjoy it and make sure that you let us know what you think. We love hearing all the comments that you guys send our way. We read all of them, and it's really important for us to get good feedback, negative feedback. All feedback is important, so that way we can just bring you more of what you like from us at Modern Day Sniper. So get after it, guys. Enjoy the episode. We'll talk at you later. We're learning. We've been in a constant phase of learning this entire journey.
Each day.
Yeah.
You probably have terabytes upon terabytes of footage.
It's bananas. I think our Vimeo account has a 5 terabyte limit before we have to upgrade, and I think we're cruising right around like 2.5.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So
It's there.
I mean, it's coming up on 4 years full of content that
Oh.
we've been producing.
So that's your Modern Day Sniper content as well as the podcast?
No, that's not
Just the
including the
public?
podcast. That's specifically just Modern Day Sniper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because we didn't start doing video podcasts until recently, and just having the film equipment and the production knowledge to make it happen at in high quality. It was just we were in a constant phase of learning.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah. You switched one expensive hobby for another.
Yeah, right.
expensive- more
Yeah, I was like,
hobby.
man, it's cool though because my creativity as a human being, and I know everybody has creativity in them, and you just have to figure out what medium that creativity comes out. And video production and photography just happen to be that medium for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a paper artist, whereas Cassandra is an amazing paper artist. She does phenomenal work, and she just has that vision to be able to draw something and or paint something. Like, dude, I didn't learn my colors fully when I was a kid. And so color was really difficult for me. And when I was a kid, I colored in kindergarten. I colored an elephant pink. And
That seems valid to me.
it seems valid, right? It seems valid. But it was weird. Like the only thing I remember is like the kindergarten teacher like holding up my pink elephant in front of the whole class and saying, "This is exactly what you don't do."
Wow,
And
she elephant shamed you.
I was elephant shamed.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean,
That's horrible.
we should all be outraged at
Yeah.
that.
You should be.
I object.
Yeah. And I object to your objection to my outrage.
I'm lost. I'm
And
lost
I'm
in the
outraged now. Right. So I didn't learn my colors, and art was very difficult for me because I think that like that part of my psyche was just like, well, that's scary. We're not doing that. Yeah, exactly.
Like as you're drawing stuff, you're looking at the teacher to see if
Yeah,
you
you're
chose
just
the right color. Like,
Yeah.
is this okay?
Yeah. So I'm not like scarred for life. It's just part of
Yeah.
right? So when I took photography in high school, I wanted to take photography, and uh, as it as it were, I did black and white photography because I had a super hard problem exposing in the darkroom properly, modeling the colors from what I saw to the
Hmm.
photo, right? It would either be too warm or it would be too cold, or, and I just could never get it right. But black and white photography, I could see in that grayscale, and it was far more accurate to
Yeah.
get the right balance of the image. And so this just happens to be something I do enjoy it. It's fun. It's
That's
fun to be
awesome.
creative with it.
The
Yeah.
content looks great.
I love
Yeah,
it too.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we had,
Love the look and feel of everything. It's pretty cool. And it's consistent.
yeah, super. And that's tough to do. I did one with Carl up in Colville, and that was a traveling podcast. So I did all of this. I set this up at Carl's place, and it was a lot. Like, I didn't have Kyler to help. It was just like setting it up, and God bless him, right? Because so Carl's just sitting there and he's watching me set everything up, and he's done this before because he had a TV show.
Oh, okay.
Did you guys know he had a TV show?
I
I
had
learned that in your
no idea.
podcast.
I had no idea.
No, okay, yeah. So he had a TV show on,
It
I
was a
think it's the
sports show.
Sportsman's Channel. Yeah. So, um, and I watched it. It was hysterical. It was a lot of fun, and he did the right thing. He was just like, "Hey, this is to promote the business, and this is also going to be super entertaining, following
Yeah.
all these people around on their journey of basically what the RTC is." And it was funny as shit.
Yeah,
It was a
sounds
blast
entertaining.
to watch it all. So he's watching me set this up, and I'm trying to talk to him, but at the same time, I'm trying to make sure I'm going through all these checklists in my mind, because if you get one setting wrong in a camera, it's ruined,
Yeah.
right? You can't use it. Now you can still use the audio, but you can't use the footage. So it's been a journey. It's been a big time learning
Yeah, I bet.
experience.
Right on.
Yeah. Same thing with you guys. I mean, you guys, I've been with both of you guys from the very beginning of your journey
Yeah.
in
100%.
precision rifle.
Yeah. I don't know. Was it 10 years ago that
I
we
think
met?
so. I think that class, that was when Rudy Gonzor, who
Mhm.
is now part of Ridgeline Defense, that was when he was still with First Group, and the SODIC committee came out for that class. It was in December.
Oh yeah. It was cold.
It was December, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was brutally cold. It was savagely cold.
Yeah. That was the funniest experience because I think that was a couple years after I bought, my first rifle.
Yeah.
I'm Red American Sniper. Of course, I buy, whatever that is. I can't shoot it. I put it away. And then I wanted to buy a birthday present for a buddy that
Mhm.
was back from the UK. Purchase that, right?
Yeah.
And we show up there. There's special forces guys in there. There's military or like law enforcement people that are there for their jobs, and then there's me and Marcus, and we're going around and everyone's telling what they're there for, and Marcus says, well, we got tired of playing Call of Duty, or
That's
so, something
hysterical.
ridiculous, and
Yeah.
everyone started laughing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Marcus is a soccer player. He's
That's
a
right.
goaltender.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, and then we were just freezing, and I think people
It
were
was so
stunned
cold.
that we were still there.
It was so cold.
Yeah, but that's kind of when everything kind of the fire was lit for me. That was
And
fun.
I remember that class vividly. We had the tent set up. We had a couple heaters in the tent, and it was all you could do to just get in there and get your hands warm. I had a couple classes like that out at Linda's place, and it was after your classes that I was kind of like, we're not going to do that anymore. Yeah. It was because it's just so austere. There's
Yeah.
no place to get warm. There's no place. It's just really brutal out there. And if it wasn't, if it was cold, it was also windy. It was always windy out there, out in no man's land, right?
Mhm.
Eastern Washington, out way past Moxie. But the energy that I got from you as a student was that you were like, "Hey, I'm asking these questions out of genuine curiosity," meaning like you're a civilian guy putting up with some really super shitty conditions. You have no idea what you're doing. This is the first time you've ever done anything like this before, and you're engaged.
Yeah.
You're totally switched on, and you're asking questions, and you're not being a bitch. right? So you're in the mix, and maybe that was your ego because you were around a bunch of SF guys and
That
cops and
did
stuff.
did come into play,
For sure.
right? But it's, at the same time as I really, really wanted to be good at this.
Yeah, and
And I'd failed so many times before that I knew like professional instruction was necessary to get where I wanted to go.
and you guys showed up with those. You showed up with those rifles that were really difficult to get to shoot well.
Yep.
Yeah, and that basically, and you've had that experience. You've been to a situation where you know that your potential is greater than the equipment that you're using. That's really hard. And for me, I got a soft spot with that. I got a super soft spot. This last class, I loaned out 3 rifles. I loaned out 3 of them because it's one of those things where if I see it, I've got enough experience to know that we're done. Like,
Yeah.
we're done. We're over it. We're going to go to a new solution because the student's experience is what matters. And if I can show them what their potential is, right? I'm not going to make them suffer through something that I can look at him and be like, yeah, man, he could be shooting that 308, but he's not. I'm making him work for it. That's fucked up. Like, that's not okay.
That's not why they're there.
That's not why they're there, right? They're there to learn a skill. And so then I get to show that individual what a full custom rifle is like to shoot. And then they're like, whoa, okay, that's different. So like these guys are going from shooting, 2-inch groups down to 3/4-inch groups, like that. And so that boosts that individual's confidence because, and it's not falsely boosting their confidence either. It's real. It's a real tangible thing because you can see the difference in the equipment. And it goes along with like what both of you guys have figured out. It's like there is forgiveness to be had in this game. And you just have to know what that forgiveness is and how to go about getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Ken and I we built a relationship actually through the Modern Day Rifleman Network. We kind of started chatting, figured out we lived, kind of a few miles from each other. And then we started about 2 years ago.
Hanging out. Yeah.
We kind of started hanging out, but then
and practicing together.
Yeah. And then practicing and saying, hey, we want to, I have personal goals of what I want to achieve in PRS. I love the aspect of competition. And then I love how that plays out when you go hunting, where you literally shock guides or like people that, see a lot of shooters and they're like, what just happened? I didn't even have my binos out. The animal's on the ground, and that's the kind of stuff you can do when you build those skills. But we decided we kind of have been really good at pushing each other.
Yeah. I've grown more in this year than any of the prior years. I mean, in the early days, of course, I went from 0 to something. So that was also kind of like a growth spurt. But I hit a plateau. And I think that practicing with you has unlocked pushing past that.
Yeah. And then just like beyond kind of the skills, I think, you and I both kind of dove into the I guess the mindset aspect of shooting and like a competitive spirit. And after you get to a certain level in this sport, and I'm certainly not there yet, I'm nipping at the heels of kind of getting better, but I think the mental aspect of this game is 80% of performance, like after you've built those foundational skills.
Agreed, 100%. Well, that speaks to both of you guys. I've known I've known you for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
And Ken, what year did we first link up?
I think it was 2016.
Was it 16? Was that when you came out for the backcountry hunter course?
No, my first class with you was just 2 of us in March.
That's right. It was the mentorship.
Very cold.
Yeah. And you guys, actually, you're the first dude that I trained with out on that range.
Yeah, it might have been.
Yep.
And I think at the time you were still the Kalinsky branding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2016.
And I came out with Eric.
That must have been either 16 or 17. Yeah, one of those two.
I want to say 17, I took your backcountry course.
That's right.
It was one of the first instances of that as well.
Yep.
Man, yeah, it's and like watching you guys go through this, the cool thing that I've seen is that you guys have both appreciated the process of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so you guys come at it from a pragmatic standpoint, and you're like, well, okay, so I really like this. This is what my budget allows me to get into with regard to equipment,
Mhm.
right? And then this is what my time budget allows me to commit to practice and train. And so you guys are excellent examples of someone who says, "Hey, I like this, and this is I'm going to budget my time, and I'm gonna chase after this." Right? Because you both have day jobs. You both have, like, you have a family,
Yeah.
right? You have your individual responsibilities. And so, and you're not a paid shooter.
No. Are there paid shooters?
I mean, there's a couple of paid shooters
Yeah.
out there, but
I don't know any.
you know, um, I mean, I pay an entry fee when I go shoot
Mhm.
matches, right? So there's certain things that from sponsorships and things that I get, like barrels and bullets, but I pay for all my powder, I pay for my primers, I
Yeah.
pay for my brass. Um, like that's non-negotiable, right? So, and like I don't really want to just be like, oh, I'm going to throw a couple of certificates on the prize table and get a free match slot. That's not how I do. I want to pay the match
Yeah.
slot because that's contributing to the sport itself and that match director doing his thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We have to. We've got to support that because without match directors and without the everyone that is building great equipment for this, we're not going to have a sport,
yep.
right? So, I mean, I pay for everything
Yeah.
happily
Happy
because
happy to support them
happy to support it.
because they're also really good to the community.
Yeah.
Give back a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the topic of the process,
Yeah.
it wasn't always like that for me, right? Like I've kind of written a few
You've been,
funny
I mean,
blogs on your thing, but
the stuff that you put out is badass, man.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's super great.
But like that, the first one I did was a classic example of not believing in a process and believing like you can shortcut it. And so I spent a lot of time buying stuff I never should have bought. It's kind of like a shitty golfer
Mm,
thinking a new set of clubs is going to make him a better golfer. It was kind
right.
of like the same thing with, kind of gear. And so I made a lot of mistakes by that. And once I started kind of diving in more to mindset and um kind of that the concept of the process, right, and like putting in the work and doing, like, instead of going to the range and shooting for 4 hours on one day, it's like, no, I'm gonna dry fire 15 minutes a day, and I'm gonna make sure my wobble zone doesn't move, right, and that I know how to manipulate my body to get the results that I want to get on there. Like, I've
Mm,
been doing that kind of stuff, and those little 1% things every day
they make a
are
difference.
starting to separate me from people that I used to compete with.
Hmm.
And it's awesome. It's really fun.
And and you're approaching that from the standpoint of like, hey, this feels good for me,
Hmm.
in the sense that, like, you're fulfilling a desire and a need within yourself to tap into whatever performance metric it is that you want to tap into. But you're not coming at it from the standpoint of like an overly egoic, your ego's driving you to do it, but you're not coming at it from
Absolutely.
like an unhealthy standpoint where you're just like, I'm here to fucking,
Yeah.
blah,
You
blah,
know,
blah.
there's a dark side to like the
There's a dark
competitive
side to
spirit
everything.
though. And I think like part
Absolutely.
of that dark side to me is, dude, I'm 5'5". I'm continuously continuously underestimated, right? In my entire life. Like I go to business meetings, I'm surrounded by 6'5", white men, or
David,
it
this
is
is
insane. Like,
badass.
yeah,
I love it.
so there's a dark side to me that wants to not be underestimated,
Yeah.
and that really kind of drives a little bit of the efforts that I put in. And then thankfully, I have a family that's 100% supportive of this. I'll get home. My wife knows I like to do 15 minutes of dry fire.
Hmm.
I'll come up, say hi, check in, see how the day was. And she's like, hey, before we have dinner, you want to go down and do your thing? I'm like, I do. Thank you.
Actually, I do.
Like she pushes me towards it
That's cool.
and super supportive of, the Fridays that Ken and I go and train, and the Saturdays that I compete, and then getting home late. And I definitely have to, my wife really likes to entertain. So I'm gassed on Saturday
But you
night.
show up.
I get with it,
That's
because
awesome.
that's part of the program.
It's a
Getting
trade, man.
behaviors.
It's a give take. It's a give take
Yeah,
relationship. It's got to be.
100%.
Um, and this thing can like grab you and like hold on to you hard.
Hmm.
So no, um, I just appreciate how both you guys are always up to help out other people and offer advice, but in a way that's more of a coaching manner instead of or asking a question and
Yeah.
not necessarily a hey, you should like if it's anything that I've learned, it's to be able to get through to people, you ask them questions. Just
Mhm.
ask them questions.
100%.
If you ask a dude a question, I already know what the answer is.
I do. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I already know what the answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask you a question so that way we can get you talking about what you're feeling instead of knife handing this dude and being like, you need to fucking blah, blah, blah. That shit doesn't work.
Yeah.
It does. Hey, for all of you guys out there, that shit doesn't work. So stop doing it. Right? Like,
Well, I think that's where, just being around you a lot, you've modeled a lot of those good behaviors of, I've never, like, I kind of thought I was going to get yelled at when I came to your first class,
dude,
right? And
I
you don't
mean,
do that.
I've heard that so many times,
Yeah.
man. It's just, and it's still to this day, it blows me away. It's just like, dude, you're paying to go get yelled at. What the fuck's wrong with you? Don't do that. That's
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah. But
Right?
you've modeled great behaviors. And so when, Ken and I, we always try to squad together if we can. And
Yeah.
at the last match, there was the person that showed up with, it was their first match. And we just asked questions, right? So you see kind of like how they set up their bag and create more of a cantilever than
Hmm.
support, right? You
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
hey, when you were looking through your scope, did you see a lot of vertical wobble up and down? You're like, yeah, I did.
And then they
And
look at
then
you and you're like, Yoda, man.
you're like, how did you know
Yeah,
that? Right? You're
exactly.
like, well, hey, just next time turn your bag like this. And that person did it. And I think over the course of the day, their performance went from, maybe hitting 30% of the targets to like 50, 60, 70.
Didn't they even
Yeah.
collapse one stage?
Yeah, yeah. So they had
After that?
they ended up having a good day with just a little bit of input. And the other part about this sport is that um, I don't want to compete by myself.
Hmm.
And so I really, and I know people burn out in 3, 4, 5, 6 years
Hmm.
and go on to do other things. So I want to be as helpful as I can so
Hmm.
that other people have an enjoyable experience
Yep.
and come back.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. It's like you can't, I've had this conversation before and, I haven't hosted a match yet. I intend to.
Oh,
It's
that'd be
just,
fun.
it's just got to be the right, everything's got to be right, but I look at it and I'm like, well, I'm not going to set that match up to cater to the top 5%. I'm going to set that match up to cater to the 95% that are going to come for a training, a training validation. They're going to come to have a good time. They want to hit some targets, and it's not one of these like, big dick energy type things where, and that's fine, but like I don't want it to be that way. And I would also like to have an event that's catered towards the professional side of the house that is like that,
Hmm.
but on a realistic platform, on a realistic standpoint, right? To a certain degree of just really trying to push the limits
Yeah.
of what is possible with a rifle in the year now coming up on 2025.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, even from when I started this, and let's say I got my first bolt gun in 2015 and met you in 2016, from 2015 to 2024, things have changed completely.
Hmm.
Like people are running different cartridges, different chassis, different actions. Some of the stuff that exists now that everyone's using didn't even exist then.
Mm-mm.
It's only been 9 years.
Yeah, no, we like we're truly at the pinnacle.
It's like
Mhm.
a golden age of this
It
sport.
really is
And
cool.
the speed at which people are getting competitive is
Mhm.
faster than it's ever been.
Yeah, I think when I started, if I were to teleport myself today back to Upper Nisqually in 2017, I'd maybe win the match. But there's
Yeah.
no way that I could consistently win the match right now at my current skill because everyone else has also gone on.
Yeah, and they're progressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good. They
Mhm.
keep raising the bar
And
higher.
then there's those elite competitors in our,
Mhm.
in our
Oh, I love that.
region.
I love that
do too.
we train in the hardest school in the country, I think, somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Ken and I were chatting a little bit today, and I was kind of like looking at how I'm doing in the regional series this year and like kind of where I stack up. And I'm like, there's probably like 3 people that legitimately are like, kind of see me and they're like, oh, I know who that person is, but they're like kind of like a chihuahua, a lot of fighting me, but they're not really afraid of me at this point. But I think we're definitely we're getting up there. My goal is to do my best to compete with them and
Every one of those guys
make
kinda
it
like a
interesting.
chihuahua.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. You just dropped a
I
giant
have the right
manhole cover.
The right
Boom.
stature. Yeah, I just need
your
more of
fight.
a snaggletooth and I'll be there.
That's hilarious. No, man, you have definitely shown what is possible through dedication, right? And through intent and dedication. And the speed at which you have progressed has been really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And both of you guys, it's been really cool to watch both of you guys on your journeys and how you've progressed in your focus on training and being consistent about it. And the consistency, like, I'm working. So the weird thing is like, you guys, this is your hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, we're going to the range to train on Friday.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you call me and I'm just like, I'm going to go float the river.
Yeah. Well, and if you call me on Friday and say, hey man,
Yeah.
do you want to get on a desk and like be on a computer all
Yeah,
day? I'd be like,
exactly.
lose my number.
Hey David,
Yeah.
I need some help with tech, man. Can you and you're just
Fix the
like,
Wi-Fi.
get the fuck out
Yeah,
of here.
get you the number to the genius.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. So, but every time I do go out and shoot with you guys, it's just awesome to see it's awesome to see the community, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of community, and that's really how this all started years ago on Durr Road, right? Just about 30 miles from here. And so that's the way that the community was as it started. It was on a forum where it was like, hey, we're all going to get together on this Saturday, Sunday, and we're going to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be right here. And everybody showed up on a Friday afternoon. They busted their ass. They put up the steel because it's on public land. You can't leave it there. And everybody showed up and said, hey, this is what we're doing. There was no prize tables. There was no nothing. And everybody just had fun.
That's kind of what I like about our club.
Yeah.
Matches.
Everybody, people heckled each other and talked shit. And it was a lot of good fun.
Yeah.
And it's just grown. It's a thing that's going to grow because the barrier for entry 20 years ago was huge because the knowledge gap was there. There was a lot of a big giant air gap between the competitive shooting world of like bench rest and F class and high power to just everyday Joe that might have been using like a 30-30 lever gun or a Ruger M77 to shoot deer in like Pennsylvania or something like that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. That's how I grew up, man. I get that. I totally understand that. Like there is no reason for a dude in Pennsylvania when my first hunting season at 14 years old, I could go there with the same rifle and I'm not limited by anything.
Right.
I'm not limited by anything. It's only my skill, right, to employ that thing because the distances that we're shooting animals in those environments is like 100 yards and in.
Right.
So you could get by with like a 30-06 Remington pump rifle.
Yeah.
You can do that and you're going to be successful every time you connect with an animal.
We see that all so Ken and I are from Western Washington, right? So we have access to ranges, but they're generally 100 rounds and you just see
100 yards.
Old school 100 yards, but you see old school hunters come in, great, great guys, super funny, whatever. And they will put up a pie plate and shoot a shotgun pattern at it and be like, I'm good.
I'm good.
And they literally are for their style of hunting. Yeah. They're great.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up with. And I think a lot of people grew up with that. I think a lot of people did. And if both of you guys grew up in a hunting family, that's exactly what you're experiencing. You talk to Luke, he'll say the same damn thing. He grew up hunting in the Nile, right? And the rifles, there's no more advantage or any more or less advantage. Maybe being able to shoot a little bit farther, But yeah, it's all the same thing. But then the West is really what pushed everything, right? Everybody started to push the boundaries out in the West because the boundaries could be pushed,
Yeah.
right? We were just like, well, you know what? I might not have to get closer, right? I can just shoot from here,
Yeah.
you know? So it's just the way that it's just an evolution of how everything goes. And I think we are kind of at a crux point with regard to technology and what's applicable. Like we have weapon mounted lasers now. You can put so much stuff on your rifle that you start looking at it. Like I look at it from, an operational sniper's perspective, and I'm like, man, I got to figure out how to hide all that shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lenses. That's a lot of shine. And that's like a bullet magnet.
There's
So
so much stuff.
there's a lot of
Blast
stuff.
rifles now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I run mine
Timers
pretty
and
simple. Yeah.
And they're heavy now.
Espresso
25
makers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
standard.
Yeah. Well, and both of you guys have that's the mix that you're in, right?
Mhm.
And you've been like, hey, if I'm going to be a part of this sport, I'm going to be a competitor. And so as a competitor, I'm going to play that game,
Yeah.
right? And so you both are playing that game, and you have setups, you have equipment that is
I play the game.
along the same
Yeah.
playing field.
Yeah. Running a 20-pound 6-dasher. I don't have to do any load dev for it. I
Mhm.
can focus on shooting. I don't really buy into like the timers and the E levels and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I just like to keep it really simple, and
Mhm.
those things I stress me out
Yeah.
more than they help me.
Yeah.
And I kind of like in practice, in the case of a timer, I really try to work on my speed and efficiency so that I don't have to worry about time.
Mhm.
But I mean, I can see benefits. I've seen people, see benefits from that, but for me, it doesn't work.
Sure.
I mean, the way I think about it is if we were to give our rifles to one of those top guys, Nick Darzi, any of the Austins from Oklahoma or whatever, the rifle isn't going to be why they have a good day or a bad
Yeah.
day.
Mhm.
They would win with my rifle on a day that I would be right in the middle of that pack where I
Mhm.
always am, which is
Yep.
fine. I'm comfortable there.
Yeah, they understand the process.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's trigger time, it's wind reading. It's just a matter of experience at this point. There's no shortcut. I think that's what Godarzi was saying to us.
That's it. There's no shortcut.
Yeah.
And that's the exact same conversation that he and I had. It's like, hey, there's no shortcut. It's like you got the gear, right? Your rifle shoots fine. Your rifle doesn't shoot any better than mine, and
Mhm.
mine doesn't really shoot any better than yours. So now what's it down to? It's down to the dedication. It's down to the foundation of your skills. Like how solid is that foundation of your skills? And next it's how bad do you want it,
Right.
right? How bad do you want, how much time are you willing to dedicate to
What are
doing
you
it?
willing to give up?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Like, I have friends, I have a family, I have other things. Like, there's just some areas I'm not willing to go,
Sure.
but I still get I get a good
Well,
amount of time.
but the point in that is that like look at what you've been able to accomplish in the sport with that mindset,
Yeah.
right? And you still can. And you're good at balancing that with your family and your responsibilities as an entrepreneur, business owner, and like that's not easy to do. Like that's something I struggle with
Yeah.
big time. I
Yeah.
super struggle with that. Because it's real easy to get sucked into that and lose that balance.
Yeah.
So
It's
Yeah.
not like we won't get there either, because it's just going to take more time. You can compress you can bring from the future into the present closer
mhm.
when you'll be on the podium all the time
Yeah.
with more dedication. It's like area under the effort over time curve. You can push it up by doing more effort, or you can just make it longer and make your expectations. I'll be there not this year, but in 10 years.
Yeah.
for
I need
sure.
to do it before I'm blind. I'm not getting any younger.
I told
Yeah.
you, man. I
Yeah.
told you the welding thing yesterday. I'm building this tea table for Cassandra, and I went to go just do a tack weld, and I was like, I can't see. I was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man! I got to
Yeah.
go put freaking glasses on to weld. This sucks. So it is there, right? And I have to have. I've been putting the turret tape. Not necessarily because I want to mark my turrets, but I have like the black numbering and on the white background
That
makes
pops
it
for me.
pops for
That's
me.
exactly why I use turret
Yeah.
tape. dude, you're not going to see me out there marking my turret.
Yeah, because it's,
I
I
can
mean,
actually memorize stuff
yeah.
mostly.
I mean, I'll do it. I'll take the advantage. I'll do
Yeah.
it for sure. But it's just easier for me to see the numbers, and
Mhm.
it's like a psychological thing, and I want to be able to just look up and read it. So, but I'm not quite at that level where I'm buying like
The
those
magnifier.
the scope
That's
method
next, right?
magnifier.
It's in my shopping cart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm
just
I'm
haven't
on a
bought
little
it.
shop light.
Yeah.
It's not bigger.
Oh man. So, what do you guys think that you look at attributing or the most attributable, or is that the right word? I don't
Attributable.
attributable.
Yeah.
That's it.
Ken's a wordsmith.
Yeah, he is a
Yeah.
wordsmith. What do you guys think is most attributable to where you're at right now? Like, what do you think? What do you think got you there?
So I don't know if there's any one thing. And also I guess I'm a very unlikely rifleman. I was sort of mildly anti-gun my whole life. So getting into this was just more like I came at this because I went for a bear hunt. I decided I was going to get into hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I went for a bear hunt with a 50 Beowulf AR-15.
Damn, dude.
I got my bear.
Yeah,
Got my bear.
with a 50 Beowulf.
Yeah, at 175 yards. But like it didn't. It took a lot to take that bear down. And it's like I apparently don't know very much about this sport, so I basically spent from that moment, which let's call that 2014, until I met you, reading books.
Mm-hmm.
I got everything from Jeff Cooper, read everything, and then I was going to do like his scout rifle for my rifle, and then I eventually ended up building a 6.5 Creedmoor and going to the first match I went to. But like it's been just this hunt and peck, like experimenting, trying stuff, seeing what works and what doesn't work, and then meeting you. I think meeting you unlocked. Oh, okay. Modern rifle craft is about like a whole different. Like first of all, don't read Jeff Cooper because of the historical stuff and because he's just a great man, but don't read him because you want to be good at precision rifle in a modern in a modern
Right.
context.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of went through this very strange evolution with rifle craft, and for sure like meeting you and take especially that first training course where I was like, oh, okay, first of all, my equipment needs modification, I need modification, I need to practice this and that, and then it's just been time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I've had any jumps since then, really. Just
No significant like, whoa, I made a big gain.
like I've had a couple of aha moments watching people at matches.
Mm-hmm.
Like just I don't know if there's any online videos of Godarzi manipulating his rifle at a prop, but there's just no hesitation to his motion. He just
Super
rifle.
efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Ultra efficient.
there's just no. It doesn't even look like he's rushing, and then he finishes, and then he's like 30 seconds faster than absolutely everybody else in the squad. And I'm like, well, how is that working? So I kind of picked
There's
that.
a Chinese proverb:
What's that?
make speed without haste.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So he does that.
Yeah,
He does that.
absolutely.
But yeah, like I pick up stuff from Dave. I pick up stuff from you. A lot of the guys that go to Moxie all the time, they're just the sweetest people. Like
Yeah.
Nick Gutierrez, he's one of the
Yeah.
sweetest guys, and they just give you a little tip, and I'm like, oh, I never thought about that, and then I'll try it, and I'll be like, oh, it's
Right.
obvious now.
Yeah. I think there's multiple dimensions to how we've improved. I think your biggest improvement came when I told you to stop shooting your 308 with 220s.
And I love that gun.
I love that. That's in joking. But, I think it's multidimensional, and so a big moment for me was getting professional instruction. I went from literally not being able to zero a gun, thinking everything I had was broken, to like, oh, hey, this actually starts working. But if you get professional instruction and you put it on the shelf and then try to pick it back up 2 months later or 4 months later,
Mm-hmm.
you don't build it in. I think that doing the work either at a range and purposeful work, not just going to shoot small groups or
Mm-hmm.
doing something, but having a practice plan, following through on that and doing that consistently, is I think that's where you take what you've learned and you ingrain that. And then you introduced me the concept of moving from unconsciously incompetent
Mm-hmm.
to unconsciously competent, right?
Yes.
Those 4 stages.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not going to do that by just attending a couple classes
Yeah.
and then revisiting that every 6 months. So you
Yep.
have to move that through. And um, I think that there's, you know, I think that not getting off your belly for a long time, even though it's way more fun to get up and shoot, I think there's some value in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're not thinking about manipulating the bolt and following through on the trigger and, your shoulder connection and all that stuff, once that becomes natural, then you start to have brain cycles freed up
Yeah.
to stand, to kneel, to shoot off your tripod, right? And then you can focus on that while you're still doing the other stuff right,
Mm-hmm.
without taking a step back. So
That's exactly how we like to formulate training,
yeah,
because you can't put the cart before the horse, man, because it's just going to lead to, it's just like the child who just learns how to walk. As soon as they learn how to walk, they're just like, this is badass. I'm just going to go ahead and motor myself on over here. And then whop, they fall flat on their face.
yeah,
And that's exactly what happens. But for us as adults, falling flat on our face means a tremendous amount of ammunition expended and cost expended for no real true tangible results. Equipment that's purchased and have to be repurchased over and over again, and just a lot of frustration. And that frustration is mentally and emotionally taxing. And so that can literally turn people away from this immediately.
right.
Like they can go to an event and have a bad experience and they'll never come back. They just never will come back. And so we kind of want to prevent that from happening. But having the ability to map that out and have, some sort of a guide and some sort of like a logical progression that's important. It's really
Yeah.
important. And that's why we train the way that we train. So that way we're not putting the cart before the horse. We're not asking people to do stuff that they really don't have the knowledge yet to be expected to do. And that's how I think that we are able to get shooters to that level in a really quick manner. Like it's really efficient.
I actually found it a little. I'm an engineer as by trade, and I found it fascinating when I went to a match and had some kind of weird equipment thing happen. Maybe not even a malfunction, but just like something wasn't optimized.
Mm-hmm.
So part of what attracts me to the sport is the engineering, both sort of the rifle and what I have in my pack and my approach to the stage. And a lot of the time I think of this sport as like it's weaponized math, right? It's math, it's a sport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a math guy.
Certainly.
So I'm like, maybe I can be good at this.
Oh, I love
You know what I mean?
Don't ask Ken's win calls.
Yeah, man. I need to take lessons because I am
Yeah,
not a
no.
math guy
Yeah.
at all.
Well, he's literally
Really
so
good at
it. Like,
No, when you talked to me about your mover thing,
Oh, yeah.
the beats for I was just like, what? I'm gonna need you to say that again. So, but it makes total.
Yeah.
But if it makes sense to you and it works, then that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's part of what I find fun about taking the sport apart down to its core essentials. Like what can you remove from the pack, the rifle, what can you remove from your process to like kind of optimize the whole thing? And that's
right.
Yeah, it is. It is all about optimization.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's fascinating me right now, well, the thing that's fascinating me right now, I've always, you go through, at least I did, I wanted to learn about what makes a rifle accurate, right? Like what really makes a rifle accurate and how does that work? And then once I understood the principles behind that, then it was like, okay, well, let's dive into what's happening with the ammunition's interaction with the rifle. And I've always been I started off being a tinkerer in reloading and like going through all the processes and like doing all of the super mundane stuff, like turning necks and, flash holes and deburring flash holes, primer pocket, uniforming, all that stuff. And then I was just like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this. Like, this is not. And then I realized like, well, it's inside the noise, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to invest my time into something that's not going to give me a result that's tangible, so that I can actually say, okay, yeah, my time is worth this. So I've done that and just looking and saying, okay, like what do I need a guy or gal to understand in order to be successful in this arena? That's the only thing that you need to be telling people. That's it. Like, you
Yeah.
tell people what they need to know to be successful, and then give them the resources if they want to pursue it, if they want to nerd out on some stuff, right? Like, if you want to be a freaking ballistician and you want to learn about external ballistics, here's the resources, but you don't need to know like you don't need to know where a ballistic coefficient comes from to be a good long range shooter. You don't. You don't anymore. Even back then, dude, even back then, right? It didn't matter. I got a freaking piece of paper with some dopes on it and said, this is what you should start with. And if it doesn't match, write that shit down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop asking me questions. Figure it the fuck out. Like, that was literally how I got started in this game on a quote unquote professional level. And so I didn't even need to know what a freaking ballistic coefficient was in 1999 when I went, like, I didn't even need to know that.
No.
Now, when I started to mess with ballistic computer programs, I did need to know what the number was, right? I needed to understand what the number was, but I didn't need to understand like where it came from,
Right.
you know?
You need to know, like, if I manipulate it up, how does this impact
Oh, dude, not even at that point. We didn't
predictions?
even understand at that point.
Yeah.
This was okay. Well, this is what Sierra says, so we're gonna plug that in, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, I have all the things right in there that everybody says should be right, and my stuff still doesn't line up.
I actually remember that from the class where we logged what was predicted versus what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went back into the tent for, thank God, right? Warmed up. And we started getting in our calculators and moving that G7 around until it kind of matched up. And you're
Yep.
like, oh, I guess that's the real ballistic coefficient,
Right.
right?
Yep. And that's the way we did it at that point in time, because I was not ever a believer in manipulating muzzle velocity. I would go into situations where I could say, all right, well, you put your ballistic coefficient at this super depressed number and up your muzzle velocity. And then you put your muzzle velocity depressed and you up your ballistic coefficient. And guess what? They'll all get data that hits at 800, 850 yards, right? But then you say, okay, now bring your data, that same curve, put in a 300-yard dope.
And what happens?
Miss.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work, right?
It's a curve fit.
Exactly.
You're hitting it at one point on the curve, but not
Right.
everywhere else.
Exactly. And not everywhere else. And so I was never a believer in adjusting muzzle velocity. I remember when it came out, I was kind of like, I would look at it and I'd be like, okay, all right, I see, I get it. I understand what you're doing. But then it just didn't really make sense to me. And I would later find out that there's a reason why it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right. But then we didn't understand what those things were. We just knew that there was a discrepancy in the data. There was a discrepancy between what the data was telling us should happen versus what happened in our reality.
Yeah. I think the people that get most messed up by that are newer shooters that just aren't shooting well.
Right. Exactly.
Right. They're not something's off in their process or their fundamentals. And so they're sending things high, low, but that's not actually what's happening.
And they're adjusting off of it every single time.
Yeah.
Right. They're adjusting on
I mean, I went through all of that where
Mhm.
I was like, okay, how can my ballistic curve be up by 20%? It's like, well,
Yeah.
there's this guy, behind the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so shooting wildly different zeros than students.
Mhm.
Right. So I'll jump on a student's gun that's having an issue, and I don't know, 4 or 5 tenths of a mil in zero difference in
Mhm.
terms of point of impact. And it's just simply the way that I'm
Yeah.
addressing that system. And so then the student sees it and they're just like, whoa, why is that different? Like, explain. Because they'll see a difference in group size, but then they're more like the ones that are switched on. They're like, well, why is it in a different spot?
Mhm.
Explain that to me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wonderful. I want you to be able to see why.
Great
that is.
question.
It's a fantastic question.
Fundamentals.
Yeah. So then we start talking about that, and it really helps them kind of unlock the understanding that you have a big role in how that thing reacts, or how the results that it produces as a result of interacting with you, like
Yeah.
the meat suit behind that thing.
You actually presented some of your targets yesterday and walked through them on the MDR network,
Yeah.
how to use them. And there was one where it's like, use this target, apply rearward pressure,
Yep.
be neutral, be
Mhm.
light, and you could actually see like how that's impacting your
And some guns it doesn't, and some
right,
guns it does. And the
right.
guns that it does, it's usually pretty significant where people are like, whoa, really?
I'll
And
tell
I'm
you
just
what it
like,
doesn't. 25-pound PRS gun.
it does
You
not.
gotta shoot the same no
That's
matter what.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's why we buy, that's why we're doing it,
Yeah.
right?
Buying
We're
forgiveness.
buying that forgiveness.
Yeah.
We're setting the rifle up to be more forgiving.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from my training with you was the fundamentals and how much rearward pressure. Like by the time I met you, I don't think you were loading into the bipods anymore. You had sort of like
Yeah.
been more like shoulder pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even know that you needed to do that in the beginning.
Right.
Like the way that I approached this was before I even had my first bolt action rifle, I read all 3 of the current books by Brian Litz.
Mm-hmm.
So I was good on G7 BCs and all that stuff. But like I was probably free recoiling this like 12-pound 6.5 Creedmoor with
Mm-hmm.
this 18-inch barrel and a muzzle brake that shot the blast right at your eye.
Right at your eyes.
So I had like a massive flinch.
Yeah.
I was trying to get away from the rifle under recoil. So like, yeah, I was all over the place. And then you're like, yeah, shoulder pressure. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So kind of like,
It just makes that, it makes that, that solidifies that impulse to make it consistent.
yeah.
That's what we're struggling with, right?
Honestly, I think that's why guys that are a little bit bigger at the shoulder are just naturally better shooters. Like if you have a heavier shoulder, I have a buddy who's I say he's got a Christmas ham behind that rifle.
He's got a Christmas.
And he can shoot a 12-pound rifle like it's my 25-pound
Yeah.
dasher.
Yeah. I was actually making the same comment to Chad Lowe, and he goes, "Wait a minute, are you calling me?" I'm like, "Yeah," but just but he's like, the guy shoots lights out.
He's a great shooter.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, what's fascinating me right now to close that loop is the neurobiological stuff, the psychology behind it, because for me, that's what my limit was.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I was like, okay, my skills are there. My, the equipment's there. Like, what is this limiting factor right now? What's happening? And it's truly it's psychological and neurobiological. Like that makes, it makes, not only does it make sense, it's real. Like it's it's very real. And I think that studying that, I'm really intrigued to study it. And I've already started kind of building out 2025 on the Modern Day Rifleman Network on what we're going to be talking about in the Advantage program. And we're going to be bringing back, pardon me, we're going to be bringing back the Headspace Hub stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
It's what you're talking about to me is like we all have fears, and we need to figure out how to turn those fears into fuel.
Yes.
Right, to power us. And so you actually helped me through early on, this was a couple of years ago, and I was just like, man, I am so nervous. I literally can't hold my gun straight on the first stage. I'm jittery. And I was, what I was nervous about? I was nervous about looking like an idiot in front of people that don't care, right? And
that probably aren't looking at you
and don't care. They're probably doing their data, watching for targets, doing whatever. And honestly, probably most of those people were there to root for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and see me do well. And I was just so worried about that it ruined like my first couple of stages. It put me in a bad mindset because I didn't perform well. And once I kind of like undid that, it was a big jump.
Man, it's real.
Yeah.
Super real.
I like that you mentioned the neurological stuff because I think the biggest thing that I'm working on right now is keeping my eyes open and relaxed under recoil. Because I know, like, I've videoed myself, and if I'm not 100% dialed into focusing on keep my eyes open, I will flinch. And even if my eyes are open, my eyebrow wants to close, my eye, you know what I mean?
What are you thinking about in those final moments when
it's just anticipating the recoil? And I think it's from having that blink. It's from having that 18-inch 6.5 PRC with that muzzle brake on it. But in my early career, I'm like a dog that's, been beaten.
Well, you can get him out.
Well, so you can cure that by that is truly that's that's a pre-ignition movement,
Yeah.
and it's a neurobiological thing.
Right, because if I'm right next to Dave and he's shooting, I'm not
You're not
blinking with
flinching
you,
because,
and it's
yeah,
the same amount of sound, is more sound because I'm lateral from his muzzle
because
there.
your conscious thought is on
Yeah.
something else.
But I think
Right.
it's I'm going to make it happen.
When you see somebody, like if you see somebody and they flinch, like they have a really loud noise, um, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be able to look at that individual and say they're most likely their thoughts were kind of off in Narnia. They were not actually thinking about something,
Mm.
meaning their mind was not on this S&E
In other
with
words,
that.
the focus can kind of turn
Yeah.
into that.
So when you're not actually thinking about something specific, your
Mhm.
mind is your subconscious is taken over. And so that's when that startle happens, right? It's a startle reflex. It's a normal thing. I mean, anytime that you look at somebody that's about to get into a violent encounter, the very first thing that somebody does is startle, right? And your hands come up. You're just like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
Your mind is doing the same thing with that rifle. It's doing the same thing. And the only way that you can, so we used to try to do this with ball and dummy drills. You guys remember the ball and dummy drill for pistols?
No.
Didn't we do remember when I did your pistol
when you
class?
put a neutral cartridge in?
Yeah, or I hand you a gun that's not loaded,
Yeah.
right? And you don't know, in your mind, you don't know that
So
it's
that
not loaded.
you're like diving board
Yeah, so that diving board, that flinch, that's that pre-ignition
got it.
anticipation, right? Because your
Mhm.
brain knows what's coming. Your brain knows what's coming. That's why really dry fire with no live fire doesn't do anything for you can press the trigger clearly and cleanly and crisply. You can have a natural point of aim, the reticle won't jump. That's great. It doesn't matter. The second your brain knows because your brain knows that thing's not going to go bang.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It knows it's
You
not going to go
can't
bang.
trick yourself.
You know that there's no consequence. There's no consequence other than you seeing your reticle move, right? But your brain, as soon as you put a live cartridge in that thing and your brain knows that that's a live weapon, everything changes.
Yeah.
Because now it's going into protection mode. Now it's going into, there's going to be this anticipation of this blast because it's a neurobiological connection. It's your brain's like, I don't fucking like this. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
But your mind is going to be like, nope, we're doing it anyways. And so when you allow your subconscious to take over, the visual information that you see from the target is telling you for a fraction of a second that sight picture looks good enough to release a shot. And then what do you think your trigger finger does?
Slap.
Just, well, call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
Slap it, crush it, yank it, jerk it, whatever you want to call. Like I remember when we were teaching students that you're either flinching, bucking, or jerking. Those are the 3 types of trigger control error.
I had booger flicking. Remember that one?
Yeah, that's improper
Yeah,
follow through.
yeah.
But it was like so definitive that any improper trigger control is one of these 3 things. And matter of fact, it's all of them baked into one thing. And that's just anticipation. It's that pre-ignition, psychological, neurobiological connection to the fact that this thing is about to go explode 6 inches in front of my face and my brain doesn't want it to happen.
Right.
The thing that's working for me, like when I'm on it and I don't blink and I don't even want to blink, it's because the sort of mental framework I try to get into is to get fascinated by that target.
Right.
I want to see, does it have like a little nick in it over here? What shape is it? How's the light hitting it? What's around it? And then when I'm like almost distracted by my fascination and the reticle's in the right spot and I break the trigger, I don't blink.
Right.
So that's kind of
And
the practice right now.
to go back to and just kind of analyze what your conscious mind is focused on during those moments.
Yeah, I mean, like it's almost like a trick, right? It's like, hey, look over here, and then I give you a shot in your arm and you don't hurt.
Exactly.
So it's like I'm not focused on the rifle system in front of me or even the trigger press, because some of that is becoming
You can do
somewhat
that because it's
automatic.
you're
You're
unconscious.
unconscious.
It's almost getting to that point.
Mhm.
But then I'm just like, what's up with this target? Why is it shaped like a Yeti or whatever they've got? And then I break the trigger and then I'm just watching.
Okay.
And I'm like, I didn't have a moment of anticipation. I just went,
I see what you're saying. So your thought process is what you're saying is that your subconscious is allowing you to press the trigger cleanly
It's because the activity shifts from I'm shooting a rifle to I'm studying this thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
And so when I've done that well, like I don't blink at all. I see the reticle move and then come back. I see the bullet hit or not,
Yep.
and then I see exactly where.
I love
But
that.
but then if you don't, what happens to that shot?
Well, if it's inside of 300 yards, I just don't see it. Right? I blink,
Okay.
and then it's gone.
Got it.
I think blinking is like 300 milliseconds, and that's about how much time it
Yeah.
takes for a bullet to go 300 yards. So if it's after 400 yards, I can kind of be lazy and just let myself blink
And then it happens,
recover
and I can
Yeah.
see it.
see. So what I'm trying to do is get to the point where I can see. I think it was either Nick Goody or Goodarzi that said, like, when you can see the bullet appear on the paper at 100, then you're kind of done. You've got
Yeah, you got it.
You've
Yeah.
reached the final level.
Yeah.
your black
Yeah.
belt on
Yeah.
not
Well, then,
blinking.
but then there's something after that. Now it's like you're looking at the target, but you're noticing mirage and you're noticing
Yeah.
other things shifting.
You're
feeling it right on
You have
your
more
body.
brain cycles for everything.
Yeah.
else.
I've had a few moments of brilliance in that spot, but not, I mean, for the most part, it's just not there yet.
Well, we're gonna bring Owen back on for some podcasts, and we're gonna bring Owen back on for some more lessons in the Modern Day Rifleman Network to
Cool.
talk about what's actually going on behind the door, right behind the scene or behind the cloak, from the neurobiological perspective. And it's funny too because we had a neurosurgeon in this last hunter class, and he'd been in it for a while, and we started talking about these topics, and he was just like, this is bizarre because I would have never this is a bizarre connect, like this is all factual.
He's like, I should be good at this.
It's all factual.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is how the brain works. And it's like, we're learning about this stuff. We knew that these phenomena existed, but we didn't understand or have the vocabulary to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The ball and dummy drill was created to prevent people from anticipating the trigger press, but nobody understood the mechanics behind like what the drill was trying to achieve, right? Like the true, what's going on up here that's making this shooter do this, but yet we're now going to establish this training drill to train it out of them.
Right.
But even then,
everyone's the dummy.
Yeah, because you're just like, oh, okay, well, I've got to come up with a method to get this student to understand, either do more of this or stop doing this.
Yeah.
Right. And we come up with these. I came up with a natural point of aim drill that way to try to look at students. I strictly came up with that drill to be able to identify the students that didn't understand what a natural point of aim was, because I would know immediately by just looking at the targets.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yep, shooter 1, shooter 2, shooter 4, shooter 8, and shooter 10. Those are the dudes that I need to go focus on to get them to understand natural point of aim.
Yeah.
I still run through the natural point of aim with like 4 or 5 dry fire rounds when I get to the rifle for the first time on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
I just, is the reticle moving when I'm under, like, even the kind of like mechanics of the trigger.
Yeah.
Breaking.
Well, and that it gets ingrained in you. I remember being at a match. Leonard was in our squad, and he was watching you shoot, and you were doing something in a standing position. You were kind of moving your ankles back and forth, and Leonard's like, is he digging in to take a shot? And I'm like, no, he's adjusting his natural point of aim. He's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So like, is he really like a heavy recoil? I'm like, no, he's just adjusting.
I'm aiming the rifle with my feet.
It's amazing what you can do by moving the ball of your foot a quarter inch,
and now
that slows down.
It's literally like 1,000th of an inch.
Yeah,
it's not
so
much,
crazy.
man. It's just, and that's where I've been shooting some tripod stuff lately, and really trying to focus on like the tripod lash, meaning when you lock your ball head down, is there like a 1/2 mil variation from what was originally your NPA to what's now?
Like, are you muscling it?
Well, as you even lock down the ball head, as the ball head clamps on the ball, it pulls the, in this case, a rifle. It would even pull a camera in those angles, but the camera would be too magnified to see it. But we can, because we're aiming so small. And so if you put lash in that gun, even like 0.4 of a mil, it will sling a bullet 1.5 inches away from center.
Okay.
Absolutely will.
And you fight that by not not lock them down so hard.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, if you lock that anvil down, you better make damn sure that your lash there's no lash in the system.
Right.
Because then you demonstrate it by you lock the anvil down and then you just put just a tiny little bit of pressure. I'd usually take a student's hand and I'm gonna like, hey, we're just gonna put the pressure on the stock and then I'm gonna pull your hand away and I want you to look at how much that stock moves, right? And how long it takes it to settle back down. I go, you're doing that if you have lash in that system and you try to squeeze that thing in there, as now you've just taken a rubber band and you've stretched it.
Yeah.
And now you've put kinetic energy into that rubber band. So as soon as that thing recoils, that rifle is going to go right back to neutral and it's enough to sling that bullet out in that direction. And it will happen.
Those anvils down.
It's
I usually leave them so you can move. And I just like, because I've experienced that where you're like, oh, I'm going to lock it in. And you're like,
yep.
Like, no, dang.
I mean, the bullet's going to exploit the path of least resistance through the whole system, tripod U and everything else.
Well, because the rifle's moving before the bullet leaves the barrel.
That's right.
So if the rifle is starting to move as that bullet's traveling, the point of aim is changing and barrel pointing is changing. And so therefore the bullet's going to leave over here versus over here. Yeah. And there we have our dispersion.
Right? Yeah, I've had that just with the vertical stuff at benches at the range because I'm not using enough rear pressure.
Bipods bouncing off the bounce. Yeah, same thing. It's cool stuff, man. I mean, it's like it's a never ending quest into figuring out why those damn things do what they do.
So, yeah. I mean, it's actually a really fun engineering.
It's super fun.
Right? Yeah. It's like really deep and you can go as deep as you want, right?
Yep.
We talk a lot about that, or we're at the point now to where we're at matches and people are asking us, well, why is this happening? What's going on? And we're kind of helpful in terms of helping.
Yeah, you guys are great. You guys are great.
We try. And I am just at the point to where I'm starting to make as little changes as possible because what I'm doing is working. My maintenance process is working. I'm not having any sort of like velocity issues or accuracy issues.
Like
I just want to shoot. Yeah.
There's shiny new stuff out there that I'm sure would make me a little bit.
I mean, there's a few things in my shopping cart, but not as much as there used to be.
But I'm just working the system that I've got.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's something to be said. And I say this, I mean, there's the rifles all over the place, but it's like, beware the man with one rifle. He probably knows how to shoot it. Yeah. So it's, I'm super glad that we were able to do this evening with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Having a good day training on the range. The Yakima range is always spicy. Doesn't matter what the day, doesn't matter. It's always going to be different out there.
That was the wind, the changing winds were awesome. I love that for training. It's kind of boring when it's all the same wind call all day. So it was great that it was coming from 6 o'clock, or anywhere from like 5 to 7.
Yeah, you guys got 270 degrees today.
We got it all. Yeah, it was great.
That was really challenging winds.
Yeah. So and then so shoot a match tomorrow out in Moxie, and then I'm gonna jam out to Colorado to teach with Jacob. I'm gonna shoot a match in the morning, and then I'm gonna get done at 2:30 and go to the airport and fly out by 5:30.
Yeah. And then I'm going to a fancy wine tasting this evening, so I got to get my mind right and get some energy.
Yeah, after being zapped in the sun.
Yeah, and then Sunday we're going over to Ken's house. He's going to treat my family to Calbee.
Barbecuing outside, Korean barbecue. Yeah.
Dude, but still Calbee's amazing. Yeah. It's so good. And you make really good food.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So what was that? What was the dish that we had, that soup? What was it called?
Sukiyaki.
Sukiyaki.
Yeah. It's just so like a community hot pot.
Oh man, it was so good.
I needed a wheelchair for your house after there was so much food.
You got to hate yourself for eating it, right?
Man, yeah, let's do that again this winter.
Absolutely.
That was tons of fun.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Right
so, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for doing this.
Thanks for having us. It's fun to
love the conversations. Like you guys are,
every day is a learning.
It's an intellectual experience, right? Because you guys are super tuned into what you're trying to accomplish, and you're really dedicated to figuring it out.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I don't know if there's too many mysteries. We just got to get more trigger time.
Yeah.
More time.
Yeah. Absolutely. More time.
Get the wind, the ability to call wind within that mile an hour, and we're chasing that.
Yeah, always. So right on, man. Well, let's have a good match tomorrow and hit a bunch of targets.
Sounds good. Let's see.
That's great.
Right on.
I'm bummed you have to leave early.
I don't. Maybe not. Maybe not.
See how
Well, that's how fast we go through it. So, all right, man.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thanks. How long do you figure that was?
Well, about an hour and 20.
What? It's like, I was like that. Had to be like 20.